but I'm almost ready to go there. How are you dictating what you want when you haven't played it down on the field? This kid could be a bust. This kid could be a bust.
So the dispute with the contract issue is he wants what everybody else essentially has gotten in terms of a non-clause in the rookie contract that can void future money. It's called a default clause. And he does not want that in his contract because it's a new precedent that they've been setting. And apparently with these default clauses, it allows the Bengals the power to void future guaranteed money if something were to come up. Now, to my understanding, this is based on off-the-field issues. If he were to get arrested, if he would have trouble with the law, if he would get hurt outside of football, that would be, I think, what they're more leaning to. And I think that is sort of what he's arguing.
What happened to proving yourself on the field? What happened to proving
that
it
is about signing the contract.
Colin, what happened to proving that you could be a professional and you're not going to be a nuisance? I don't understand this at all. Don't get in trouble then. Be a good person. Be a good teammate. I don't like if you're worried about all this stuff. What does that tell the Bengals front office that this kid's going to get in trouble? Colin, I don't like this at all.
A couple minutes.
It's all right. It's just another chapter in the Bengals' history of.
We'll find the audio. We don't have it.
This is another chapter, ugly chapter in the Bengals' history of the front office kind of not having a direction. And I mean not having a direction, specifically the defensive end. Like Joe Burrow threw for 480 yards 2 different times last year. 5 touchdowns 2 different times last year, and they lost? How do you throw for 400 yards and 5 touchdowns twice in one season and lose?
Shemar Stewart, I'll quote it. We don't have the audio. I'm 100% right. It should be a no-brainer. In Trey's case, it should be a no-brainer too. I'm not asking for nothing y'all have never done before, but y'all just want to win arguments more than you want to win games, talking about the Bengals front office. So he's talking about, that was Shemar Stewart, the rookie defensive end for the Bengals. Now talking about, the front office is more interested in winning, I guess, these contractual arguments is the way he likes to say. But my point being is you haven't played a game.
Twice, yeah.
You haven't played a single game. I don't understand where this is coming from in terms of rookies acting like this because what does he want, a fully guaranteed contract? Is that that's the new thing nowadays?
Guess so.
Like the tops of the lines get fully guaranteed contracts. Travis Hunter can get a fully guaranteed. Mason Graham, the 5th overall pick for the Browns, got a fully guaranteed contract. I don't know how guaranteed it is once you get farther down in the first round, but now you got them talking poorly about the front office when he's been there for, a grand total of 19 days? So Shemar Stewart has been here for 19 days, essentially, and is now talking poorly about the Bengals front office and in talking in advocation of Trey Hendrickson, who is being let walk.
Now, Trey Hendrickson was the sack leader. What has this kid done? What has he done? What has Shemar Stewart done? Oh, he was the 17th draft pick overall in the first round. He played at Texas A&M. I can't take this serious. How are you going to sit here and dictate what's going to happen when you haven't even played on the field yet? What, do you want the fully guaranteed $17 million? That's not how the NFL works. This isn't the NBA. This isn't other leagues where players are dictating what's going on. This is the NFL. You were drafted to be the replacement for Trey Hendrickson. How about the Bengals, though? I blame the organization more than anything. How do you not see something like this happen when you're interviewing these guys? Like, I don't want to say Shemar Stewart has a character issue, but I'm almost ready to go there. How are you dictating what you want when you haven't played it down on the field? This kid could be a bust. This kid could be a bust.
So the dispute with the contract issue is he wants what everybody else essentially has gotten in terms of a non-clause in the rookie contract that can void future money. It's called a default clause. And he does not want that in his contract because it's a new precedent that they've been setting. And apparently with these default clauses, it allows the Bengals the power to void future guaranteed money if something were to come up. Now, to my understanding, this is based on off-the-field issues. If he were to get arrested, if he would have trouble with the law, if he would get hurt outside of football, that would be, I think, what they're more leaning to. And I think that is sort of what he's arguing.
What happened to proving yourself on the field? What happened to proving that
it is about signing the contract.
Colin, what happened to proving that you could be a professional and you're not going to be a nuisance? I don't understand this at all. Don't get in trouble then. Be a good person. Be a good teammate. I don't like if you're worried about all this stuff. What does that tell the Bengals front office that this kid's going to get in trouble? Colin, I don't like this at all. I don't like this coming from a rookie, and I'll say it again. I blame the Bengals for not spotting something like this with a first-round draft pick that you're taking 17th overall to replace the guy who led the league in sacks last year. I blame the Bengals.
Yeah, he's looking to get his first contract. He's looking to put himself in a position to, I guess, succeed financially, and he doesn't want them to sort of have these little loopholes that they could jump through. And I believe we have this now, Christian. So let's take a listen to how Shemar Stewart responded when asked about the contract dispute in regard with him, the first-round pick, and the Cincinnati Bengals.
Rookie minicamp will be over at the end of the week. I feel like I assume it should be done between now and then. I hope they get back on the field tomorrow. That's what I'm planning to do. But as in how far I'll take it, I mean, it just depends. Like, in my case, I'm 100% right. I'm not asking for nothing y'all never done before. But in y'all case, y'all just want to win an argument instead of winning more games, in my opinion.
Shemar Stewart, the first-round rookie for the Cincinnati Bengals, who has not reported yet, who is in the building, but he has not played because of a contract language dispute.
Only the Bengals would draft a first-round pick that doesn't want to play over a contract. Give credit to Jamar Chase. Did he sit out of everything? Absolutely. But he played and had the best season ever, had the Triple Crown and got paid. T. Higgins, the same way. That's why I'm on this young man hard, because he is a rookie and he has proved absolutely nothing in the league. Could this guy be the next Myles Garrett and T.J. Watt? Maybe. But at the same time, you think you'd want to prove something on the field before you start holding out for some money. And
he is preventing them to void guarantees in the contract, though. That is what they want. That is what the Bengals are fighting for.
But you told me the stipulation is that if he gets in trouble and if
my
he's
understanding.
a nuisance.
That's my understanding. So, yes, I'd have to look into it further, but I believe the default clause is when they have, I guess, like justified cause to void guaranteed
Is
money.
this not the Bengals in a nutshell the last 3 years, though? They can't, and I say they can't win like a deal. Like Jamar Chase, he's great. I'm happy they figured it out. You know, Bengal fans are probably happy, but like, how ugly was that situation? How ugly? How many times did they franchise tag T. Higgins? Like, it's just another chapter in the Bengals' history of kind of botching situations like this.
Here's my perspective on it, though. When all the players, it's turning into a battle amongst the players versus the teams versus the ownership. And one thing he added to what he was talking about in his locker room availability, which was brief, was he said that all the stars in the locker room have went to him and said that they think he's doing the right thing and sitting out and making sure that the contract language is what the standard is and what he wants. But this is a negotiation. You're going to have to compromise both ways. I think this is it's annoying that the Bengals are unable to have good relationships with the agents and the representation of the players. That is that's the bottom line. Mm-hmm. They have bad relationships with the representation. Unless they come out with a blank check, it is a bad relationship amongst the players and the team the Bengals themselves and the ownership and the front office, which is so avoidable for a team that is looking to capitalize on somewhat of a window. Like, those guys are not going to be there forever. The offensive pieces you have are not going to be there forever. You have a prolific offense, and you have a returning coach. You have a lot of things that a lot of teams wish they had, but because of burying yourself in a hole contractually, and I blame the players too, because I think they're asking for too much. Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, all these guys are asking for too much money and then complaining, saying, oh, you got to go get yours. Well, hold on a second. You're the one who took everything from everybody else.
Is that a championship caliber mentality?
Probably not.
Is that I lean towards no as well.
Because let's think about the two options. Like, what, the Eagles versus the Chiefs or the Patriots? Those are teams that make decisions on who's saving money. The Patriots save money time and time again. The Chiefs save money, and they made team moves sometimes, but Mahomes has a team-friendly contract. So does Jalen Hurts.
You got to leave the ego at the door sometimes. There's a lot of ego with that Bengal team. And I think you saw it on display last season when, as I've mentioned, Burrow putting up astronomical numbers. Colin, the guy almost he was 100 yards away from throwing for 5,000 yards, okay? And they didn't make the playoffs. And Jamar Chase had the Triple Crown receiving he led the league in yards, he led the league in catches, he led the league in touchdowns. How many playoff wins did they have? So, like, that's where I'm at. A lot of me with the Bengals, not a lot of team. And I find it crazy. Insanity. The guy the Bengals drafted to replace the guy they can't afford because they spent all this money, he's holding out.
Well, here's what
No
I'll
other
say.
teams are doing this.
Well, hold on. Here's what I'll say.
It's a carnival franchise
hold
right
on.
now.
Yeah, well,
it's a circus over there.
I agree, but this has happened to multiple players now. So this is not just that they ran into 3 bad eggs who, for some reason, can't sign contracts. I think this is something to do with how the Bengals operate in terms of they're probably playing cheap. And if they're going to play cheap, I think that agents know this because the agents all know each other. They know all the teams.
They have to play cheap. Now, were they playing cheap with Chase and Higgins originally?
We're talking about guaranteed money at this point versus money against the cap. But I understand they don't want to cough over the guarantees.
Right, and because they need to save money because, to your point, $30 million is going to 3 different guys.
That's a lot of it is cash owners, too, because they want to make sure they got to fork over a lot of that sometimes, especially in the guarantees. If they want to turn it into signing bonuses and stuff like that, that comes out of the owners. So, but it sounds like they're playing a little cheap here, both sides. Now, does the player have a point? Probably, because this has happened with a number of players for the Bengals specifically. So this is not like this is happening to the Eagles every 5 seconds and the Panthers every 5 seconds and the Rams every 5 seconds. It happens. This happens to the Niners and this happens to the Bengals. That is the bulk of it. Happens to those two.
It's no longer a coincidence with this team. And with a team who has, in my opinion, a top 3 quarterback in the NFL, they're wasting time right now, not being kind of playoff ready and a championship caliber team. I understand they got to the championship and lost to the Rams, and that was a closer game than people like to admit, Burrow in that championship game. But we're a long way separated from that. It was like 3-4 years ago now. You got to figure out the defense, and I don't know how you figure it out because you got the sack leader who's probably not coming back because you can't afford him, and now you have your first-round draft pick that you drafted to replace him in a money fight. It's a soap opera. It's a circus.
Now, this is the inverse. This is the consequence of teams that rely on stars rather than depth. Yes, every team needs stars, but when you're the Bengals and you're sort of relying on 5 superheroes to lift the team, the Niners were the same way. They had about 7 or 8 superheroes on the team, and everything else was pretty good, but they had the superheroes, and all of a sudden when you can't pay all of them, and all of them have different agents who want them to be the highest paid at their position, and you got to make decisions on who you want to pay, but you want to keep everybody happy. It's almost like a rock and a hard place. Mm-hmm. It's an impossible business to navigate, but you are the general manager of a team. You should not take the negotiations into the thick of the summer.
Yep.
This should not take this long. And this is not me. I'm not taking a side here. I see both ends, but the Bengals ownership is being cheap, number one. And number two, you're a rookie. You haven't proven anything, but you're making demands. How does that work? Mm-hmm. That's where it's like this is it's a circle. It's a timeless loop.
It is. And if I could go back on something you said, you mentioned the superhero. Sorry. What was the last team that won a Super Bowl who had the superheroes on offense? The Chiefs with Tyreek Hill? Probably, right? Maybe. I mean, the Buccaneers.
The Eagles had that great. They were just a top to bottom great team, but they had players offensively.
And they were filled out. But like I go back to the Kansas City Chiefs and Tyreek Hill. They didn't want to give him $30 million a year. They let him walk, and they win 2 more Super Bowls after Tyreek Hill left. So I don't know. I don't know if the Bengals blueprint is right. Time will tell. But right now, it doesn't look like it's right because of what's happening with Hendrickson. They can't afford the guy who had the most sacks in the league. Former FAU alum, by the way. And it's Shemar Stewart, the rookie now. I don't know. I don't know if that's the way you do business. I think the way you do business is what is best for the team. And I go back to what I said about 10 minutes ago. A lot of me with the Bengals right now.
There's truth to that. But there's also, the Bengals are a cheap organization. They always have been. They always have been. Ever since those owners, always been cheap. And organizational dysfunction is a trickle-down effect. So I think you're seeing a little bit of both sides there. Do I think Shemar Stewart is right for sitting out? Do I think it's that important that he's at mandatory minicamp? I don't. I think if this trickles into training camp, then I'd really start to point at him, figure this out soon. But if I'm in a position here where if the Bengals are trying to take advantage of him and they're trying to take advantage of that contract, now if the stipulation is don't get arrested, then don't get arrested.
Yes.
But if the stipulation is about injuries and voiding contract deals because of injuries, then that's a different discussion.